I want to talk about what it means to be a vibrational being living in a vibrational universe. So that's what today's topic is focused on. The key points are going to be what that means specifically, how to tend to your vibration, and how to stop empathy in its tracks. And that may come as a surprise to many of you because usually empathy is referred to in a way to where you think it's like a really good thing. But I have a different view on it, and I'm going to share that with all of you. I'm also going to talk about how tending to your vibrational frequency is a really important consideration in the therapeutic relationship, particularly for the therapist. Controlling your vibration will make you a better therapist for everybody. You're going to benefit from it, and all of your patients benefit from it as well. Then I'm going to end the episode by talking about how to know where your vibrational frequency is currently so that you can tune into that and know how to raise it up to where you want it to be. I'm Dr. Williams, and this is my podcast. I have 2 graduate degrees in psychology, am a licensed mental health counselor, and an expert in the area of spirituality. I am devoted to living my best life and am sharing it with all of you. I'm bringing my expertise, education, and life experiences to you through this podcast. Everyone deserves to enjoy life, and that is what I'm here to talk about. Depression, anxiety, grief, you name it, we all go through it at one time or another. I believe there's a better way to come at these things than mainstream mental health care offers, and I'm here to offer you my perspective and dig into discovering how you can feel good no matter what life throws at you. It is my intention to contribute goodness to this world, and the content herein is how I do that. But one disclaimer before we dive in. Should you decide to apply the information offered here, be prepared for improvements in your life. You may even live happily ever after, and you'll only have yourself to thank. This is Feel Good Now, the Dr. Williams podcast. So first, let's talk about what it really means being a vibrational being, living in a vibrational universe. This is really the foundation for law of attraction and everything that manifests in reality. Because what's happening is the universe is giving you a match to wherever it is you are vibrating. If you are focused on all the wonderful things going on in your life and you're feeling really good all the time, then you're going to attract more of those things. But if you're focusing on some negative stuff and the things you really don't want that are in your reality already, you're going to attract more of those things. That's just how law of attraction works. That's the basis of it. It gives you what you think about. It's basically how you communicate with the universe. And this communication is happening all the time, whether you're aware of it or not. But if you do choose to be aware of it, then you can deliberately put your vibrational frequency at a place where you're attracting more of what you want and less of what you don't. And really that's the goal, because you always want to feel satisfied in any given moment, right? You want to feel good. That's the whole point of life, to be here and enjoy living. And you know that based on your satisfaction level. If you're receiving more things that you are enjoying, your satisfaction level is up. So if you are attracting all those things based on your positive vibrational frequency, you're going to feel good and you're going to enjoy your life in any given moment. The thing is, this is not just about you. This practice is also going to affect anybody who is around you. So when you know you're going to be around somebody or a number of people, if you check in with yourself and get a feeling for where you are vibrationally, you'll know what you're going to be offering to the interaction with that person or those people. It's basically considering what you're contributing in that interaction, but from a vibrational standpoint. What are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing into the room when you walk in? You know how you can feel the room change? Or if you walk into a room and you get a sense of it and you can just tell what's going on, even though you just came in and you haven't been a part of any of the conversations going on in there, but you can feel it. That's the stuff I'm talking about. That's the stuff that is real. That's the vibrational frequency of all those people coming together with all of their vibrations. And the thing is, the feeling of the room is matching whoever is dominant in that vibrational interaction. So that's why it's important to consider what it is that you are contributing, what it is that you're bringing into the room, because you can be the dominant vibrational force. And when you do that, and you deliberately make it a positive one, then you're bringing nothing but good to the table. And people are going to really enjoy being around you. And you're going to enjoy the interaction because they're going to rise up to meet you because you're the dominant force. I feel like kids are really good at this. I know my kids can change my vibration very quickly. You know, this takes attention and focus to look at where you're vibrating and know what your frequency is. And I'm not doing that all the time because I'm living my life and going from one task to the other, and my vibration is like a wave and it's changing based on the conditions that I'm living. If I were to look at that in a deliberate way, I would want it to be a high vibration, right? I want to be vibrating at a high level. But let's just say I'm at home and I'm doing laundry and chores and running around, and then my kids start to fight. My attention is on all these chores that I'm doing. And now here they come at me with this strong negative vibration, and a lot of the time it's upsetting to me, and I lower down to the vibration that they are offering because their vibration is more dominant than mine. It's stronger. And that's because they're having a strong experience to contrast. They're experiencing something they don't like or don't want, and they're having a strong emotional reaction to it. And since I'm just over here going about my business in kind of a neutral way, that makes me a vulnerable person to taking on the dominant vibration in the room. And because theirs was negative, it lowers me down. Of course, this works the other way too. I will often notice my kids are getting along really well or playing really nicely together or laughing together. Oh my gosh, that's the best, right? You hear your kids laughing together and you are just so happy because they're getting along and loving each other, and that's all you really want. And then that will make me feel really good. And I wasn't already up in that high flying place. I was in a neutral place. And my vibration is either raising or lowering to match the dominant vibration in my surrounding, in my conditions. Another really good example of this is Jesus. And you don't have to be a Christian to acknowledge that this man who lived was a very good person and did a lot of good things for the world. Well, Jesus was a master of deliberate vibration. Jesus was not an empathic person. Think about it. Normally, when we talk about empathy, we're referring to negative emotions. When we talk about empathy, it's in reference to somebody being able to put themselves in someone else's shoes, right, and feel what they would be feeling. But have you ever noticed that we don't use it when we're talking about positive things? It's always negative stuff. And this was definitely my experience as a therapist. I was always very empathic, and I was known to cry with my patients and really be in the moment when they were talking about these terrible, hurtful, painful things in their lives. Jesus would never do that. Can you imagine that happening? He was a strong vibrational frequency. He was the dominant frequency, no matter who he was interacting with. He was so strong, illness literally could not exist in his presence. People could be healed just being in his presence. He was such a strong vibrational force that others would raise up to his vibrational frequency and would be healed. He only saw wellness in people. He never saw illness. And that's how people were healed by him. He was a vibrational master. But he would never lower his vibrational frequency down to the level of somebody who was feeling ill or unwell. He was the pinnacle of wellness. He left empathy out of it completely. There was no empathy in Jesus. If you are around somebody who is a dominant negative vibration, and you are an empathic person, then you will be lowering your vibration to their level. And that is going to decrease satisfaction in that interaction. Now, let me explain that a little bit, because there are some considerations there. A lot of times people like to be around empathic people. It makes them feel better. Because if someone else is able to feel what they're feeling, they feel validated in their emotion. And that helps them to feel a little bit better. Feeling secure in that feeling raises up their vibration a little bit. But what does it do for the empathic person? It doesn't help them at all. They might feel a little bit good because they're making someone else feel a little bit better. But ultimately, they had to lower themselves down to that plane of negativity in order to line up with that person. Their small feeling of good in reaction to the other person who's feeling good is probably still a lower vibrational frequency than they were to start. So they had to lower down in order to raise up a little bit. The other side of that, what if that person instead did not practice empathy, but instead they decided to be the dominant frequency in that interaction? They tended to their vibration before interacting with this person who had negativity in their life. They would be raising that person up and helping them to feel better on a vibrational level. You wouldn't even have to talk about the negative thing going on in that person's life. Just being in your presence, because you are the dominant positive vibration, they will feel better. Exercising empathy makes you a footstool. You're able to prop up that person's feet and bring them up a little bit, but you had to get under them in order to raise them up. If you can instead be above them before you interact with them, you will raise them up further, and you both will have a more satisfying interaction just because you tended to your vibration before coming into the room. So how do you do that? How do you tend to your vibration so that you can offer the most of you, the truest form of your true self, in any kind of interaction with anybody? Well, here's what you do. There's a couple ways to tend to your vibration. One of them is meditation. And meditation works because it stops the negativity that could be flowing from anything going on in your life. When you meditate, you stop thinking. So you're stopping any kind of resistance. And when you stop resistance, all that comes through is wellness. Whenever you stop thought and you focus on something that has no resistance for you, you are allowing all the good to come into your reality. All those things in your vortex. That's why meditating every day is a good idea, because doing this as a practice gets you into your vortex every day, even if it's a small amount of time during your day. But when you meditate, if you're effective in stopping thought, you are automatically raising your vibration. The other thing you can do is be in a state of appreciation, and that's even better than meditation, because you can do that in your waking state throughout your whole day. If you are feeling good and you're appreciating everything that's happening to you in your day, then you're in a state of appreciation and you are vibrating at a high frequency. And that's a good place to be. If you can do that on purpose, then you are deliberately bringing more good things into your experience because of your focus. So when you are deliberately tending to your vibration and putting it up on that high plane, then that means you're exercising your point of attraction. You're raising yourself up there and you're telling the universe, bring more of this. Now, if you do that before you go and you interact with any one or more people, and you do this on a regular basis, that puts you in a really strong vibrational frequency. And it is the goal to do that regularly so that you are the dominant vibration in any given room. So how does this apply in therapy? If a therapist were to tend to their own vibration before every session, they could offer that patient the most wellness possible just by tending to themselves. And I say that because I feel like therapists are often focused on the patient and allow that person to bring into the room whatever they're bringing into the room. But that puts the therapist and the therapeutic process in a very vulnerable state to go whichever direction the patient gears it towards. And a lot of times when somebody's coming in for therapy, they are prepared to discuss the worst of the worst. They want to talk about all the bad stuff that's going on in their life. Now, if a therapist were to tend to their vibration before that session, when the patient enters the room, they will already feel that. They will already feel a little bit better. Usually empathy is considered a good trait in a therapist. And it's something that I exercised quite a bit. But do you remember how I told you I got really sick doing that work? As an empathic person, I was taking on all of this negative stuff that my patients were bringing in and laying on me. And I was taking that on because I was allowing myself to match up with them so that I could understand where they were. Because if I exercised empathy, then I could actually feel what they were feeling. And I was successful in doing that. But it did not manifest good things in my life. I did not tend to my vibrational frequency before meeting with my patients. And I would do that differently now. I would be the dominant vibration when they came into the room. And I would do it for me and for them. It would be helping both of us. We both would have a better session because of that one practice. And then I wouldn't focus on the problems because that has a way of just lowering your vibrational frequency. Would you like to have an ad-free experience? I know you probably have my intro and my outro memorized by now, and maybe you just kind of want to cut out that ad space, this one right now that you're listening to, so that you can just get all of the content of the episode. Well, if that does sound like something that you're interested in, I've put together a Patreon account, and I'm offering all of the episodes I've recorded so far without that extra stuff, so you just get the content. And I'm also going to be offering members early access to the newly released episodes. So I'll be putting those on Patreon several days before the episode releases on all the other podcast platforms. So you'll be able to listen before everybody else. You'll also get access to the Dr. Williams Pod. It's a community where we're going to be able to interact and know each other on a more personal level. I'm going to be offering some Q&As so that we can really dive into some of these topics, and you can share your thoughts and I'll share my thoughts, and we can have a dialogue going. I think that we all could benefit from that. So that's something else I'm going to be offering. In addition, I'm going to be putting together a lot of exclusive content, things that I'm working on, creative projects that I have that are only going to be available to those people who are members on Patreon. You can find the link to the Patreon in the show notes. And I'm also going to post on social media, so you should be able to find it on all of my pages there as well. I look forward to getting to know all of you guys better and engaging in some co-creating together. For now, I'll just get back to the episode. See you on Patreon. I mentioned in a previous episode how validating is the opposite of empowering. And I feel like I have to clarify that a little bit now. This also goes for empathy. Empathy and validation do not have to be a negative thing. I just refer to it in that way because of how it is being used. When empathy and validating are used with focus on negativity, so the problems in somebody's life, then those practices are not helpful. They may feel slightly helpful. The patient might leave feeling better after the session, like what I was referring to a couple minutes ago, because empathy can make somebody feel better in the moment. But it's just a footstool. It's just propping them up a little bit. If empathy and validation were applied to positive things, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're really getting somewhere. There's nothing but wellness that can come out of that. If you are actually feeling happy and thriving and appreciative when talking to your patient who is explaining those things going on in their life that are giving them those kinds of feelings, that's good stuff. That's wellness providing stuff. If you are validating things that they're doing in their life that are bringing more positivity into their life, that's good stuff. It's when you're using empathy and validation when discussing negative things, that is when it's counterproductive. And that's not promoting wellness. Or at least not as much as you could be if it was the other way around. This probably sounds backwards because most people expect to talk about their problems and their issues when they go to therapy. But truth be told, it would be more beneficial for the patient to never discuss that stuff at all and just talk about what they do want, the things that they want to come into their reality. Having a positive focus has a greater impact, and it would be more fulfilling for the therapist. Think of that experience. I know how heavy that weight is when you are there talking about problems in people's lives, patient after patient. That's really heavy stuff. But think about if you're talking about positive things, patient after patient. You're going to leave work feeling really good, and they're going to leave sessions with you feeling really good. Not only that, they would be practicing deliberate vibrational control in their lives. And so they can leave the session and go and do that in the real world. That's how law of attraction in the therapeutic relationship can benefit everybody. So that's using vibrational frequency in a really deliberate way when interacting with somebody. Since you know that you're in this therapeutic process and this therapeutic relationship, and keeping that at the foundation of that interaction could really benefit the outcome. But you don't have to do it that way, because here's another secret. You can change other people just by changing yourself. Alignment is contagious. It's attractive. Have you ever been around somebody that you just love to be around, but you can't really explain what it is about the person that you like? You just know you really like hanging out with them. Like being in their presence just feels good. Well, that happens when you're around somebody who is in alignment with their true self. That means that they are vibrating at a high frequency, and you feel that. And the reason you feel better is because they are the dominant vibration in the room, and it raises you up to their level. So you can't help but feel good when you're around them. That's why people flocked to Jesus. They just knew that they felt better when they were around him, and they wanted to feel better. Everybody wants to feel better when they're not feeling good enough. So let's say you decide to do this and you really work on controlling your vibrational frequency and allowing yourself to be that dominant high frequency in interactions with other people. What's going to happen is you're going to start noticing that your relationships are improving, even with no attention on the relationship specifically. You'll realize that you don't really have to end any relationships, because ending relationships is taking a conditional approach to it. You recognize that there's problems in that relationship, so you end the relationship in an attempt to improve things for yourself. But the problem with taking a conditional approach is your vibration goes with you. So if you're having negative vibrations in this relationship and you end it and you start a new relationship, if you did not tend to your vibration in between there, you're going to end up having a similar experience. And we see that all the time, don't we? With people that have one bad relationship after another, and they say things like, I don't know why I keep choosing the same person. Or I'm in this situation again and I can't believe it. And they don't understand why they're right back where they were before. But it's because they aren't tending to them before they enter into a relationship. Let's just say you ended a relationship. And yes, it was a conditional approach, but you've already done it. So it's done. And you really would like to find a new relationship. Now is the time to work on you first. If you start tending to your vibration, you do meditation, you find states of appreciation, you're doing this on a regular basis, you notice that you're feeling better just because of this practice, your point of attraction is going to change. And now you're going to attract somebody into your life that matches that vibration, not the negative one that you had before that was leading to all these problems in your other relationships. And I know that can be a hard pill to swallow because it requires a degree of responsibility for the negativity that you're experiencing. And a lot of times in bad relationships, people like to blame the other person. And I'm not here to say who was right or who was wrong. You know, things happened. And either way, you're not satisfied in that relationship. I'm just telling you now, if you want a better one, you have to start working on you because of your point of attraction. Work on raising your vibration, and I promise you, you will find somebody else who matches you there. But that doesn't mean you have to end that relationship, because this will also work if you decide to remain in a relationship. By raising your vibration and being the dominant vibration when you're around that person, they will automatically raise up to meet you. And you'll start to notice that they're changing. But you promoted that just by doing the work on you. If you notice that that's not happening, what will end up happening is that person will leave. Because dueling vibrations cannot remain in the same vicinity. Opposing vibrations are like magnets, and they will push away from each other. So if you work on your vibration and you're raising it up, and the other person is not, they're dominant, they're still dominant. They are still the dominant vibration when you're together and theirs is negative. What will happen is your positivity, your improvements based on your vibrational work is going to annoy them. And they're not going to like it. And they're not going to want to be around you. And though they're going to put the blame on you, rest assured, you're not the problem. You're the one improving. But what they will do is they'll leave. So either way, you're going to find more satisfaction. Either you're going to raise your vibration and they are going to raise up to meet you, or they're going to get out of Dodge and they're going to not be in your life anymore. So either way, the negativity from that relationship is going to go away. The best place to be when considering this kind of practice is not to do this because you want to manipulate those around you, though it is a positive manipulation, I would say. But the reason to do it is just for the satisfaction of it, because you feel better. You feel better when your vibration is higher. You're going to get enough satisfaction from that alone. But other people, as a result of you doing this, are going to either raise up to meet you, or they're going to get out of your life and go to find other people that are more on their lower plane. So the last thing I want to talk about is how to know where you're at. Because we've talked about all this stuff about raising your vibration. I've talked to you about how to do it and why to do it. But how do you know where you're at? Well, you know by checking in with yourself and knowing where you are on your emotional guidance scale. But really, it's just, are you feeling good or are you feeling bad? If you're feeling good, then you know that you're in a state of allowing. If you're feeling bad, you know you're in a state of contrast. Now, that isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you can recognize the moment of contrast for its true purpose, which is just gaining clarity about what you want, you can continue to feel good while experiencing contrast. But if you're feeling bad, any level of bad, then you know that that is misalignment. And that means you're on a lower vibrational frequency. So let's just talk about this whole contrast, clarity, asking, receiving thing. First, let's talk about the asking part. Life is what leads you to ask for things you want. And I know I've talked about this before, but I have not clarified how the asking is done. Asking is not something you have to do with your words or your thoughts. You don't have to do anything. When you experience contrast in your life, so a contrasting experience, which clarifies what you want. So when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. The asking happens automatically because you have recognized something that you don't want. Therefore, the opposite is present also. Actually, once you become really aware of something that you want, or you're able to verbalize it and do want to ask for it specifically in prayer or, speaking to the universe or in whichever way you do your asking when you're aware of what you want, that means that that thing has already gained a lot of momentum in your life. So a lot of contrast has happened to clarify that desire. So you do not have to deliberately ask for anything. This is something that just happens as you go through life and you experience things. When this asking happens, that is when you're transmitting. You're the transmitter because you're sending off a message. And you cannot transmit and receive at the same time. Those are two different vibrational frequencies. This is important to realize. The asking happens without any kind of effort. You don't have to put anything into the asking. It's just happening. The work is in the allowing, in the receiving of the things that you've already asked for. Let's say something happened. Let's just use the relationship example since we were kind of on that path. Something happens in a relationship that you have, and you realize you don't like that, which helps you clarify more about what you do want. Well, that rocket has been sent now. The universe receives your rocket, your message, about what you do want, based on you experiencing what you don't want. The universe, or your inner being, or God, or whatever thing you want to label it, grants it. Like a genie in a bottle. It's yours, and it gets put into your vortex. Or your cue. Let's talk about it like it's a cue in a printer. So it's there, and it's waiting to come out. Now you have to work on the allowing it to come out. That's the part where you actually get to receive it. You sent your print job to the printer. It's in the queue, but there's no paper in the printer. Therefore, your print job is not going to come out until you allow it to by giving it everything it needs to bring it into your reality. The way that you give the printer the paper is by lowering your resistance. So that's the meditating, That's the state of appreciation. That's the feeling good stuff. If you can feel good and get yourself in a state of feeling good as much as possible, more and more of those print jobs are going to start coming out. Some print jobs take longer than others. It just depends. But that's just going to bring more contrast into your life to help you clarify more and more about what you want. And as long as you continue to just let that process happen on its own, and you focus on doing the allowing, on being the receiver, being that vibrational frequency, that's when you're going to really start to enjoy your life. Because all of these things that are in your vortex, these things that you want, are going to become realities in your experience. And it's all by focusing on your vibrational frequency and getting it up as high as you possibly can. That's really the only work that you have in life, is allowing, being the receiver. The transmitting is happening automatically, but work on the receiving end. Work on raising your vibration, being the dominant vibration in the room. People are going to notice these changes in you if you start doing this. They're going to be like, wow, things are different with you. They're going to notice you're happier. They're going to notice that you're enjoying life more. You are going to be happier, and you are going to be enjoying life more. All because you're focused on what kind of energy you're presenting. And as an added bonus, people around you are going to feel it too, and they're going to like being around you. You won't even have to explain what you're doing. You will be a testament of happiness and true satisfaction in living your life as an example to everyone. This is how you contribute goodness in every moment of every day, in every interaction with every person. This is how you go on feeling good and truly living life in the way it was intended to be lived.
That concludes this episode, but if you don't want to wait for the next episode to come out, I have more for you at drwilliamspodcast.com. You can learn more about me and my journey to podcasting, find all the ways to connect with me on social media, and there's a button to subscribe so you're the first to know what's new and upcoming. You also can shoot me an email at hello@drwilliamspodcast.com. You are so special to me, and your support does not go unnoticed. I want to support you too. This podcast is my outlet for growth, because when you teach something, you hold yourself accountable and apply the information in life. But the inspiration for these episodes comes in a variety of ways, and one of those is through you. I want you to feel like this is your show too. So send me a message and let me know which episode is your favorite and why. And tell me if there's a topic you'd want to hear me talk about. Your feedback applies to so many people, and your suggestion could change someone's life for the better. The best way to do this is by subscribing to the show and leaving a review through your favorite podcast platform. I really listen to you guys, and this dialogue feeds my soul. You say that you're a fan of me, but truth be told, I am a fan of yours. Everything is working out for each of us, and we're all in this together.